He's on both committees, but still only gets 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
He's not
that.
on both committees, right.
I can't think of a more important hearing if we want to do something about the jobless rate and the high unemployment, because small businesses is the incubator of our jobs. Create more jobs than any other level of industry. That's where the jobs have come from. But I want to deal with each of you, see if we can't get to the bottom of this. I mean, we got a problem here with the core of our financial system. And that's been the history of this for the last couple of years. We've been grappling with this financial problem. And that is the failure of the banking system to do its job. That's the heart of our financial system. That's the heart pump that pumps the blood out, that pumps it all out. So I want to ask you, why is it, in your opinions, that the banks don't want to lend money? I mean, even in the very beginning, one of the reasons we had the problem with the automobile industry was the fact that the poor dealers couldn't get loans. They've set before you with the same thing. So now we have $30 billion that's set aside here. And I'd like to get each of your understandings of how this works. And particularly, is it your understanding that even if the banks, these small banks that we're going to set this money up for, even come and get some of this money, there is no definitive requirement that they even lend it? The only incentive, it seems to me, for them to lend it is they will get some kind of benefit on a sliding scale. So Ms. Dorfman, let me start with you, because I think your testimony, Mr. Gordon's testimonies, really hit this issue. What is stopping the banks from lending the money, period? And what is wrong with the program of the $30 billion that we've got set up there? Your fear that that will not be lent out.
Well, I see two different challenges, sort of the pre-economic challenge where the banks were only doing the cherry picking and lending to if you want $10 million, we'll consider you. If you want $75,000, forget it, it costs too much. The second thing that I see is once the economic downturn happened, then the banks claim they have trouble, they need our money, but what they did was balance their books and then also pay the exemption still is not there. What we're hoping with a direct lending program is that instead of having to deal with whether a bank will or won't lend through the SBA, that we will get the loans out there. Once the administrative costs will be picked up from the SBA side, once they're out there and in a good payment cycle, then perhaps we can sell them off to the banks and then continue to work with the other new lenders.
Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Dorfman. Do you think that if we were to raise the level for credit unions from their present 12.5% and raise that cap to 25%, that might be helpful, that might give some competition to these banks, that might get them to act straight more, and that would access more capital to small businesses? If we allowed, would credit unions be a help on that?
Well, they could be, but once again, do we know that the money is going to truly be lent? And I think what we're concerned about is, are we going to repeat the past, giving money to banks and seeing it not getting out to small businesses? And I also have to say that we have heard a lot from this administration about the small businesses being the answer to the growth of our economy. We need now to have the money where the mouth is. Put the money at the SBA, get the money into the pockets of small businesses so we can grow those businesses, we can create jobs, we can turn the economy around.
So you're saying rather than take this $30 billion and getting it to the banks as administration, what we're proposing, that we should instead get it in through SBA?
Correct. There's a direct lending program.
I see. Is that your assessment too, Mr. Gordon?
Well, I think to understand where the problem is you need to understand where the banks came from. Okay, before the crash, they were totally focused. They weren't doing a lot of business loans then anyway. So before the crash, they were focused on mortgage loans. It's really easy to send an appraiser out to a property, find out what the value is, and make a loan decision. It's much more difficult to have the time and the resources to evaluate someone's product potential. If I came to a bank and showed them my business plan, they'd go, who's going to review that? They don't have the people qualified to review business plans. They're not set up to do it. You're asking banks to do something they don't feel comfortable with, and that's the problem.
Thank you. Time's expired. Let me invite the